So only me left between you and networking and a few drinks. I will promise to be very swift in my close. And I will start by asking you to fill in the feedback cards that should have been on your chair. Don't have to fill them right now, but please promise before you head off out through the doors that you will hand them on to a Googler, either me or any of the others wearing Google badges here around. So that feedback is really, really important to us. We want to make sure that these types of events are valuable to you, that you get new insights. You know, we don't just talk about the stuff that you know, we tell you new stuff as well. That would be good, and just so that we can improve these going forward. So that's my first ask to you. Second thing that I wanted to say is that thank you, first of all, to all of the speakers. You have made this the event that it is today and really tied the themes together that we started on in the morning, which were around people and technology. So we haven't really solved the issues in the world, but I think that we've got started with raising some insights and ideas on how to tackle people and technology from a marketing perspective. So if I quickly paraphrase the topics that we've discussed, so we kicked off talking about how the world is changing, how technology is changing, and how people are changing, and how as a business, in order to drive growth, you have to adapt. In order to drive growth, you need to exceed the pace of change in the market, and you need to innovate within that. Often it's about upending these old ways of thinking. It could be about structures that we were talking about a moment ago. It's about structures that we have in our organizations or cultures, and the way that we, from the top, change the messaging of how we're going to be doing business. And it is about doing business. It's not just about doing marketing. Digital and technology are changing the way that businesses work. That's how fundamental it is. If we have a look at then the themes that Anthony was talking about. So Anthony was talking about the research and the impact of branding in B2B, and how in branding the emotional aspect, not the rational only, is really, really important. How you need to win over that elephant as well as the rider. How business value doesn't necessarily differentiate you because everyone is talking about business value. That's table stakes. So instead, you need to focus and appeal to that emotional connection, those emotional values that really would drive your business and your message home and get into the consideration set. So he talked about a number of different examples of that. He talked about how we have this unhappy valley during the middle of the purchase cycle, and how you can really use emotionally charged tactics as well as messages to increase your purchase likelihood. So often these are underutilized tactics. You know, these type of messages or these type of tactics are really underutilized in B2B marketing. So the good news is that there's tons of opportunity. Your competitors are probably not doing it. So if you start doing it, it will have great impact for you. And then John was talking about how we've moved on from madmen to mathmen, or have we, is what he was saying. It's all about both. It's about art as well as science in marketing, and how Adobe specifically have gone through a transformation of their own business from a marketing perspective, of eating their own dog food, and where they're really using their own technology to drive insights, but also then at the same time being human, taking risks and being creative, and driving really strong results off the back of that. And last of all, we then talked about research. Ed talked about the research on decision-making process for large purchases in Europe, and how, you know, the key takeaway from that research for me is that it's actually no different to the small business purchases. It's very, very much the same. Of course, it's longer. There are more people, but actually they look at the same information sources. They are on that same journey as the other people are. The top two information sources are exactly the same as what we would see before. Your websites and search engines need to be cracked in order to do that, but also mobile and video are still as important as they are for the other audiences. And then Mark was talking about data's role in B2B marketing and how you need to keep things simple and get started with small things. It's about the small data, not the big data, because big data can be confusing. Let's start with the small things that we can crack. What are the things that we can focus on in our business that we can get started with. Let's not talk about a behemoth of a project that will just send everyone into paralysis. I can't say this word. Paralysis. There we go. Got it out. And it's all about putting your data together in one place and joining it up and understanding how everything flows into that. And it's about the KPIs and understanding those key KPIs and numbers that you need to be focused on. What could you do tomorrow? Ensure that everything is tracked. So if you don't do anything else from today except one thing, ensure everything is tracked. And then when you do activity, focus on the emotional aspects of both your messages as well as your marketing in general. So focus on people, focus on technology, and we will get it cracked and drive growth for all of our businesses. So thank you very much. Again, I would love those feedback forms, and big applause to all of our speakers.